Hello, 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 ladies, gentlemen, others. How is it going? It is your fellow Kuro here today to give you guys a big virtual hug and talk to you guys about some of the stuff going on over here on the PTS. Now, there's a lot of crazy stuff going down on the PTS, and I just want to talk to you guys about a few of my favorite things, one of which today is of great interest to me. What is that change, you may ask? You probably don't ask, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My friends, that is Power Bash. The Power Bash skill in the Sword and Board skill line was changed in the patch notes, and it was a very simple change, but it has made a massive difference to the skill, both morphs, in fact. Some of you guys may know me already as the Power Slam DK guy, seeing as I've posted several videos in the past using the skill, and if you are one of those people, I've got good news for you, Slam Gang, okay? But even if you're not one of those people, I feel like you're gonna wanna hang out and listen to this. Okay, so going on in, let's just talk about what Power Bash is. For those of you guys who don't know, Power Bash is the last skill here in the Sword and Board skill line. It is essentially a spammable, okay? It's just a straight up damage attack at base. Here, completely unbuffed, we've got a nice 13,000 damage tooltip on this setup that I've got, which is quite high already. To be on my Sword and Board bar, on what most people would consider to be a defensive bar, having a 13,000 damage offensive attack right there, that is big. Let's just do my brutality, boom, 14,000, it hurts. Now, what is the change that has made this better than it was before? The change is that if this went from a regular physical damage attack to now being calculated or considered by the system as bash damage. What does that mean behind the scenes? Fuck if I know, I really don't. But basically, it means that now everything that modifies bash damage increases the damage of this ability and its morphs. That includes sets, that includes the heavy armor passive, not exactly passive, but this thing here, the bonuses, increased damage done with bash by 3%. That includes our slam, our power bash, all those. It's very nice. That means CP, that means glyphs, that means literally anything that increases your bash damage increases the damage of this skill and its morphs. One of the biggest points about that is this passive here in the Sword and Board skill line, Deadly Bash, which increases your bash attacks straight up by 1500 damage. That's quite a bit, and it's entirely free. And that goes right on top of the tooltip and then gets affected by all kinds of other modifiers. So with this, it results in much larger tooltips for both morphs, and the more fun thing is that both morphs benefit from this in completely different ways, and we're going to talk about both morphs individually of each other to see how each one differs. So let's go ahead and start by talking about the old classic, old reliable, Reverberating Bash. So what this does to the skill is it changes it from a direct damage, single hit attack spammable to a stun. It cuts the tooltip in half and makes it deal half of the damage up front and then half of the damage when the enemy breaks free of the stun. Now if you look here, you may see that that math doesn't add up. Before we were sitting at a 13k tooltip, this is now 8k, both ticks, that's 16k overall. Where does that math come from? The cool thing about this, about Reverb, is the fact that since it is two separate ticks of damage, each tick is affected by the additional modifiers to bash damage separately from one another. So that means you come down here to Deadly Bash, where you get the 1500 extra damage to your bash attacks, and that is going to apply to both ticks of the Reverberating Bash's damage, meaning that it essentially doubles that passive's damage from 1500 to 300 if you do manage to land the stun on somebody, which is pretty damn crazy. Now, I don't know if you guys know much about Reverb. It's always been kind of a staple of the Sword and Board playstyle. It's gone through a lot of changes, but as of late, these days, people just use it because it does quite a bit of damage. And before this patch, you were getting maybe 5,000-ish to 6,000 tooltip damage on your Reverb. This is such a massive difference. Almost 9,000. Guys, I get this thing up to incredible numbers when I mess around with the build, to the point where this does so much damage you could basically use it as a spammable. Okay? I've had 12k tooltips on this before. I will show you right now we're going to just go full bash spec right now. Check this out. We're going to put on Deadlands Demolisher, which, if you guys don't know what this set does, it increases your bash damage by 935, as well as gives you an additional damage proc that scales to your regular bash damage. Pretty good setup there. It's kind of weird. I've never actually used it in open world or anything, but it definitely is a solid set if you are interested in bashing. It looks like I already had the Malakath on, which has the bash damage. So now we've got all bash damage glyphs. We're in 5 heavy, and we have a bash damage set on. Now I'm going to go fully buff up against a couple of these guys here. Let them hit me. Fellas, go ahead and do your thing. Look at that. 12,334 damage for both ticks. That is 24,600 damage on this spammable. Well, this stun. But it essentially becomes a spammable because of how much damage. Like, look at that. I mean, I know this is just NPCs, but still, you literally kill them in one hit with a stun. That this thing is crazy on the tooltips. Okay, even with just my brutality, it's still sitting at 11,500, which is that's a lot. That is a lot of damage. Okay, especially when you consider that it double dips. It has 2 ticks of physical damage, which both have a chance to proc Sundered, meaning that you could reduce enemies' armor. It also, both ticks have a chance to proc your poisons on your sword and shield bar, which gives you additional pressure. All kinds of fun stuff. So, yeah. The fact that this thing hits so hard will definitely open up a lot of possibilities for people. Because, like I said, this thing can hit so hard you can use it as a combo between a spammable and a stun if you want to. It's really up for you guys to decide how you want to use this, but I've definitely considered using it as a spammable for open world because it will be bursty enough to kill people with by itself, with, you know, in conjunction with other skills. But yeah, that's it for Reverb. Let's talk about now my baby, my one true love. Power Slam, shall we? Boom. So, the difference between Reverb and Power Slam is that Power Slam continues to be a single hit, just straight up damaging ability, okay? It loses out on some of the maximum damage. As you can see, this is not 20,000 plus damage. This is only 16.7 thousand damage. I know that doesn't sound amazing. Just kidding. Actually, that hits really fucking hard. That's 16.7 thousand damage. That's like... Sorry, I'm like dying over here. That is like surprise attack damage on a sword and board bar. Okay, that's big. Now, of course, I am doing full bash damage currently, but that's irrelevant. Fuck that. So, like I said, it gets rid of the super high damage in replacement for it being a true spammable. But the fun thing about this skill comes when you start looking at the change to its unique effect that it got in the most recent patch notes. In the past, this skill would give you a stack of what they call resentment, which would give you 5% damage towards your next power slam after you block an attack, and that would stack up to 10 times, giving you a big 50% increase to your next power slam attack. That was pretty cool. It had a chance to max out really high, but it did take a few seconds. You had to, I think you'd only get 1 stack per second. Maybe not, you might have been able to get more than 1, but either way, you were going to have to wait a little bit of time to fully ramp it up to get there. What they did change about this was now you only get 1 stack of resentment, but that 1 stack immediately increases the damage of your next power slam by 33%. So 1 block gives you a 33% bonus to this thing's damage. That means that when you consider the fact that this thing naturally has a much higher tooltip than it used to, you get more max damage after 1 block with this version of Power Slam than you did after fully stacking all 10 stacks on the old Power Slam. Meaning that you can sit there and hold block while someone is beating the fuck out of you, or at least they think they are, because Uno reverse card, bitch. The entire time they're hitting you, you're just hitting them in the face with fully stacked power slams over and over while they go full nuts to butts on you. You're sitting there, blocking, not taking any damage really, because you're a Chad, and you're hitting them, punishing them with power slams over and over. It's a very, very strong skill, and a lot of people don't quite understand how much damage this thing can deal, and don't understand how to deal with it. It's very impressive. Now, it becomes even more fun when you consider things like Spell Wall. Spell Wall makes you automatically block all attacks for 7 seconds. This means that you don't have to hold block. You are automatically going to constantly proc Power Slam's extra damage while not wasting any extra stamina blocking, giving you the ability to light attack, weave, heavy attack, weave, change bars, all that, while still blocking, still keeping the stacks, and just go absolutely apeshit on somebody's face. It's great. It's great. It's a great idea that I've used in open world before already, but it's going to be even more worth it now because it's going to deal so much more damage. Now, another thing you could try is the other morph, Shield Discipline. This increases the total uptime of the Sword and Wordle by an extra second. Not a big deal, but it also makes your Sword and Shield abilities cost 0 stamina. That means that you could block every attack for 0 stamina and spam Power Slam for 0 stamina the entire time. So that means you can be offensive and defensive at literally 0 cost. A very, very strong combo there. Personally, I think Spell Wall is still the better choice because the Reflect can be very good both in an offensive and defensive manner, but they are both options you could consider. So now that we've talked about the differences between both morphs, let's talk about what kind of builds these skills will be useful on and how you may see them used in the future. Well, I know I talked a whole lot about the benefits of stacking bash damage like I have right now through glyphs and sets, but in all honesty, that really isn't all that necessary at all. These skills scale incredibly well off of your offensive stats, letting you build in more raw damage for your healing and your other attacks, while still having either the really strong stun of Reverb or the really strong spammable of Power Slam. As an example, let's take a look at the Stamina Warden that I'm on right now. Let's put back on my regular build that I had set up, which is just a straight up weapon damage build. Just pure weapon damage, everything. There's all the weapon damage. And here we go. And here we go. Now I'm just going to go buff up on a couple of these guys real quick so you can see just how much damage I'm talking about. If you look here, we've got 7,000 weapon damage, and we've still got a 14.5 thousand Power Slam tooltip. That's still pretty damn good, okay? It's not the 18,000 from before, but it is still very, very strong, and if we get the buffed up whatever from it. Okay, here is the not so fun part. There is a bug with the skill. I don't know what causes it to trigger or how it works, but there is a chance that you will just lose the damage bonus. I don't know why. I don't know what is causing it. Time will tell. We'll have to figure that out. There we go. We're at 18,000 after a block. That is how it should be most of the time. That's a lot of damage. And then I've still got my strong healing here, strong healing here. I even get a big fat tooltip on a skill like Deep Slash. Look at that. Almost 10,000 on that tooltip. If you were to throw on something like Reverb, it'd be even higher. So you can definitely get some really, really big numbers. There we go, 10,000. Super, super, super effective. Now what I have been doing was actually using Reverberating Bash. Let's go ahead and change that right back to Reverb. And then I was using the Reverb Stun, which easily has a close to 20k tooltip for me, in conjunction with some of my other abilities, to create a very strong burst combo. Okay, that was weird and glitchy there, but we'll go ahead and combo this here. Boom, look at that. In an actual outnumbered scenario, you could very easily catch somebody off guard with a combo like that. And that works very well on literally any class that can stack pure weapon damage. You can use both morphs because they will hit very hard, and you can rely on that big weapon damage for your healing. I definitely recommend you guys try that if you want to mess around with these skills, because it's fun, okay? Now when it comes to stacking purely into bash damage with things like Deadlands or Bash Glyphs and just full sending the bash, you're going to be able to see that working very, very well on classes that don't have to worry too much about their survivability due to their defensive kits. I'm talking about things like a very high health Nightblade, say 45k HP. You could literally build a bash tank on those things. I got killed by one on stream the other day when I was testing some things. Literally 45k health, held block 100% of the time, hit me with back-to-back 4 or 5k bashes, reverbed me when he wanted to stun me, also hitting me for an incredibly high amount. Very, very annoying to deal with, and very strong. Or you could even consider doing that on something like a Necromancer, who already have an incredibly powerful healing kit. Even with low stats, their healing is incredible, and they do also have that super strong bash ultimate, which lets them do even more damage and fully take advantage of bash. So there's a lot of ways that these skills could be used, but either way, they're very strong. I definitely think that if you guys have not played with them before, you should definitely give them a chance. We don't know if it's going to be pushed through to live like this. I don't think that these skills in this way are going to be a problem, because while they do have very high tooltips, they are balanced out by the fact that they have to be casted on a sword and board bar, and you don't really get a lot of pen on a sword and board bar. Even if you were to go sharpened, you don't get the pen of a sharpened maul or dual wield or any of that fun stuff. So it does balance out the damage quite a bit, and I think that ZeniMax should keep it. I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you guys think it should stay this way? Do you guys think that I should learn how to use my mouth and not flubber over my words over and over like an idiot? I don't know, what do you guys think? I'd like to hear it. Let's talk down in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and turn this video off now. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you guys are at least excited to potentially try this stuff out. I'll do some videos about Warden changes and some DK changes soon, so look out for those, and I'm going to go ahead and get out of your hair. Alright guys, Kuro out. I love you. Bye. Mwah.
Get me to the altar. I can follow you.